Welcome to Influential Entrepreneurs, bringing you interviews with elite business leaders and experts, sharing tips and strategies for elevating your business to the next level. Here's your host, Mike Saunders.
Hello and welcome to this episode of Influential Entrepreneurs. This is Mike Saunders with Marketing Huddle, and today we have with us Scott Scanlon, who is the creator of Curation Suite. Welcome to the program, Scott.
Thanks for inviting me, Mike. I'm looking forward to the conversation.
Yeah, me too. I was just thinking that I'm familiar with content curation, and so I've been looking forward to this interview to learn myself about your product, but catch everyone up to speed on what content curation is, kind of even what led you to start Curation Suite.
Awesome. Well, really, we'll just jump right in, I guess. Content curation. It's the subject you might see out there a lot, and oftentimes it's in relation to social media. When we're speaking today about content curation, what I'm talking about is on your own website or your blog, you are usually citing a blog post, an article, maybe even a social update or a video, and you're publishing that to your blog, your website. And then you're adding your own thoughts and commentary, and then that's actually a piece of content. So when we talk about content curation, that's really what you're talking about. The preface of the piece of content that you're creating is another story in your market or another article, or if you're like a local attorney, for instance, maybe you're mentioning something in your local market and you're publishing that to your own blog or your site. Is that a good definition? Does that make sense?
It is, and I know enough about content curation to I think that's perfect. But from the devil's advocate side of things, or the inquisitive side of things, what do you say to someone that goes, well, that's just cutting and pasting and stealing or duplicate content? And I know what the answer is, but tell us what the purpose of content curation is and how you can make that your own and put your own voicing into that and actually be helping the person that you are getting that content from while also helping yourself.
You pretty much stole a lot of my thunder there, but that's exactly...
Okay, nice talking to you. Have a great day.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what it is, but I'll add a few other things. So first up, the first maybe bell that goes off in someone's mind is, can I really do that? Is that legal? And it absolutely is. In the copyright law, I'm not an attorney or an accountant. I don't play one on TV, but generally in the copyright law, you have the ability to cite what are called works of art or other articles. And that's what you're using there. You're using fair use. So you have the ability to do it. And I can pretty much guarantee any site out there, any site you can name does content curation. They just maybe call it reporting, or they just don't call it content curation. But when you know what content curation is, you can just see, okay, well, that person just put up a video, they added their own commentary, that's curation right there. Or they mentioned another story. The other aspect that you asked is, why would I want to do that? The number one reason that I think that your audience would want is because your audience, I'm sure, wants to participate in inbound marketing and content marketing. And curation is the quickest, easiest way to do inbound marketing. And the number one reason is that the idea is already there, and all you have to do is add your own thoughts. And I find that just about everybody has an opinion, right? So adding your own thoughts to something out there is much easier than trying to come up with a 500 to 1,000 word plus blog post or article. So curation really, it's that kind of quick content. It's easy to do. It's legal. And the other thing that you did mention as well is that you would say, well, why would I want to share someone else's thoughts or ideas? I'll share an advanced secret here that many people don't get to, which is the true value of curation isn't necessarily what you curate. It's your own thoughts and ideas. And when someone lands, just imagine you do a blog post or a curation, I should say, and you're curating something and add your own thoughts. Your intention there is that your audience is reinforced with the value that you provide through your commentary. Yes, you're curating something, but the true value is your own thoughts. You're extending your authority. You're extending your brand. You're extending your thoughts. So that's really that's an advanced topic in curation, but it's something I often like to mention to people because that's the true secret of making curation work for you.
So have you ever heard of the quote that I think is attributed to Zig Ziglar. If you help enough people get what they want, then you will end up getting what you want in life or business.
Exactly. And that's the other thing with curation, too. In today's world, we live in an amazing digital world right now because anybody can be a platform or a publisher, and you can go out there and distribute that content out to social media. So this curation is that form of really being part of your conversation in your market. I won't say in the old days, but I'm sure there's still meetups. I'd go to them every now and then.
Yeah, in the digital age, the old days is like a month and a half ago.
Yeah, exactly. So in today's world, the meetup, or where you would go and network, you can do that actively online through your own site, through mentioning people, because they're going to get pinged when they see this. They're going to see maybe traffic coming from that. They're going to see social updates. And you can even reach out if you do curate from someone. Mm-hmm. So so for instance, I'll use my example because the one that comes right to mind. I do a weekly roundup called the WordPress Week in Review, and I mention 5 to 10 stories on there about WordPress, which is a blogging platform if people aren't familiar. And oftentimes throughout the week when I mention someone, I won't reach out to them on Twitter or Facebook, but oftentimes the person that wrote the article will come back to me and say, hey, thanks for mentioning me in the WordPress Week in Review. So, and before they weren't even aware of us, our product.
Well, and that person, can you think of one person's name that you did that with that responded, even just first name?
The WP Lift. I can't think of the person, but the company is WP Lift, so the site.
So when they saw that they were mentioned, because maybe you sent them a notification, right, and they saw that, do you think there's a slim chance that they appreciated it and tweeted it out, social media post, and maybe even sent it out on their email list? Hey, we were just mentioned on.
I'll go one further. I can attribute direct sales to our WordPress Week in Review.
Yeah.
People that are being mentioned.
And see, that's where I was going is you are getting, because you're giving first. So, that now gets into the Bob Berg go-giver, mentality. Let's give and serve and give value. You're giving results in advance of asking anything of anybody. You didn't say to that person, hey, I'll mention you in the Week in Review if you do whatever. You're giving and giving. Now, it's helping you because it's new content, fresh content for yourself, and Google loves that. But I just love that model where you are giving first, and then they go, ooh, hey, my network, look, I was mentioned here. Well, then you don't have any clue who follows them, who's on their email list. But now if they did send that out, now all these people are going, oh, let me check that out. And they come see how they were mentioned on your site, and then they start looking around. I think that is just spectacular.
Yeah, and the other thing I think I mentioned a little bit ago, or a few minutes ago, is that it allows you to be part of what's happening today, which is the digital conversation. Mm-hmm. As an entrepreneur, small business owners, you've got so many things to do, and a lot of people I find they do want to participate in inbound marketing or content marketing, but it's just building those muscles to get there is tough. That's why curation really works, because it does so much of what we talked about like so far, which is it allows you to ping people, to be part of that conversation. It's the quickest way, because with my WordPress Week in Reviews, for instance, that's not a challenge for me because I'm always bouncing off the idea there. I don't have to think about what am I going to come up with. So I found, and to kind of get back to where I started with this, I've found that curation is the perfect starting point or relaunch point for anybody looking to do content, looking to keep their site fresh, looking to show the search engine that, hey, I'm still around. And I started it because I was doing a daily podcast, and it would take me anywhere from 20 to 30 minutes to create the show notes. I don't know how, I'm sure you summarize your show notes. I was doing a podcast where I was similar like my WordPress Week in Review, where I would mention 5 to 10 stories for the day. And even with help, it took me 20 to 30 minutes. And that was, so Curation Suite and the product that I have, I'm sure we'll talk about, but it was us scratching our own itch. So content curation for me was just me scratching my own itch. And I just wanted a tool to do that.
Well, and I think another aspect is this too, and this would be probably a 4-hour-long conversation, but I'll touch on it, and then we can get right into how does Curation Suite solve or allow us to do this. But if you were walking down the street and saw me sitting down having lunch with, I don't know, Brad Pitt, let's say, you would go, wow, Brad Pitt, let me take a picture. And then maybe in the back of your mind you'd go, hey, Saunders knows Brad Pitt. That's pretty cool, right? Because I'm now associated with. Now, maybe I wasn't shaking hands with, high-fiving with, but I was at the same table with Brad Pitt. Well, in a sense, when you are curating good, reputable, authoritative content, doesn't Google see you and your content in a similar fashion?
Absolutely. So you're curating from trusted sources. That's what Google likes to see. Google likes to see a variety of content, and with curation, you're curating from a trusted source. So not only does it, I always say there's two types of things that you need to do in digital marketing. You need to look at the machine side. So what does the Google AI and the Bing AI and these machines, what do they see from your perspective? And then there's the real world, the person, right? And when you're curating, you actually sell both, because you show Google and all the other kind of tools out there, social networks, that, hey, I'm updating my site and it's with quality sources and quality content. And from a person, a visitor, someone coming to your site, this is the same thing that you just were talking about, which is you're borrowing in some aspect that credibility. So I'm on the same level. So if I curate from an authority figure in my market, I'm Seth Godin, right? So I'm sure a lot of people know Seth Godin. If I curate something from Seth Godin, I share a little bit of snippet of something that he said, and then I have 200 to 500 words of my own thoughts. In a subconscious level of the visitor, I'm kind of on the same level as Seth Godin, because what have I done there? You know, I've mentioned I'm sharing a story from Seth Godin, but I'm adding my own thoughts and my own authority. It's a
Google
subtle
is
thing.
the same way. They view in a similar way. They see Seth's content, your content. Maybe you linked back out to Seth, and so Google likes to see that. So I think that is huge. Now, if we left it at that and said you should find reputable sources in your market, quote something or a paragraph or two, and put it on your site, and then that's a lot of moving pieces. So the way that you created Curation Suite solves that, I'm sure. So give us now, kind of let's land the plane on, now that we know why people should use content curation. And we did a 10-minute overview when it could be probably 4.5 hours worth of going deeper on why content is important, content curation. But what does your service do, and what does it save for the person wanting to do this?
So it's great. You're right. We could probably talk for an hour and a half on content curation and go down that rabbit hole. Our tool gives you everything you need to do content curation. It's based in WordPress, so it's a WordPress plugin. So if you're most people that have a blog are on WordPress. It powers 26% I think of the internet nowadays. So our product is WordPress based. It integrates with WordPress, any theme, and it provides all the tools you need to find content and then do curation the right way. So you can search by keyword. It has a discovery tool we called the listening engine that it's like Google Alerts only on steroids, because we not only find content for you, but we'll pull in social data. So for instance, you could fire up your listening engine. You could say, well, show me in my market or niche that I've set up my listening engine for, show me the content that's published over the last 24 hours that have the most Facebook shares. And you'll get that content back. Or you could say, show me the stuff that's trending. So then you could find something that's trending and be part of the conversation before it's kind of hit that next trend level.
Kind of like BuzzSumo does.
Yeah, our tool, we often get compared to BuzzSumo, but our tool, we borrow a lot of, I don't know what we borrow. Our feature set is similar to BuzzSumo. I use BuzzSumo. I love it. But our tool does similar type of things. So how you could go into BuzzSumo and see content from share perspective.
Yeah, it just reminded me of that, just from the simple fact that if you saw someone tweet a certain piece of content, is that like like a raindrop in the ocean, like who cares, or has it gotten some momentum and other people are retweeting and it's gaining some trending power? Well, if your tool shows you what people in a certain industry are talking about and which pieces of content are getting some traction, you might want to jump on that and talk about it too.
Yeah, absolutely. And so we have those discovery tools in addition to publishing. So it's great that you can discover content, but one of our focus is always how do we help people publish quicker, faster, because that's what it's all about. That's the fuel that drives your lead generation.
Because even in curation, isn't there like a formula or, okay, great, you've got these 2 quotes from these 2 thought leaders. Now what, right? Because isn't there a certain specific way that you want to put that on your site and attribute it back and have whatever? So how does your tool help, discover? Great, but then now with a few clicks or a few, fill in the blanks and put your thoughts here, boom, it's ready to go out and it's nicely formatted. Is it that easy?
Yeah, it's that easy. Within a few clicks, if 1 or 2, if not from a search or even from just looking at content, you have it in your post area, and then you're on to what we always stress, which is adding your own commentary and your thoughts. That's the true power of curation. That's really the value of. I mean, there's value in curating, but the value for most people is actually building an authority, and that's where your commentary comes into play. So our tool makes it really drop dead simple to go in there, find content, discover content, and then when it comes to publishing, make it lay out so that you're following curation practices the best way. And then from there, it's just adding your own commentary and thoughts and hitting publish.
Yeah, and isn't it kind of like it makes me think of if you're trying to write something, a long blog post, and you've got this piece of paper in front of you and you're drawing a mental blank, or a Word document blank, you're drawing a blank and you're like, but if someone got you started and gave you 4 bullet points and was like, talk on this, you could just fly and go because, I see where you're going with that. So here, and that reminds me of this one time I'm sensing that that's what you're saying with when you're discovering these pieces of influential content out there. That kind of is the one thing that's fueling you to put your own, putting your own spin on things is the easy part. Getting it started is the hard part, and that's what your tool will do, right?
Absolutely, and hopefully before we go, I can share one secret on curation that will solve a lot of that. But we also have a training that we call training, and we have what are called power words. So finding that article, it's good because it starts you have the idea. You already have what's happening. You just need to launch from that. But oftentimes people even have a challenge like, how do I launch from that? So we created our power words template, which basically is, let's say I was curating something from CNN. I would use a power word which would be reveals or talks about or discusses or uncovers. So I would say CNN reveals, and then I would say what it reveals, and then I'm on to the commentary. So we even have templates to help people to how do I create commentary. So every stumbling block along the way we've really thought about and really help people to kind of, here's the quickest way to do it, and here's how to actually make it happen.
Yeah, that's awesome. So at this point, let's say that someone says, I got it. I don't blog because I don't have the time. I don't have the writing expertise. I do realize that, finding some trending hot topics out there is important. Some thought leaders talking about things, great. But I know I can't copy and paste that and put it on my blog because that's wrong and Google doesn't like it. And it's wrong. And then this tool helps me to find this stuff and put it in a nice, easy format and kind of give me some prompts and ways to kind of add my spin and thought to this. And then now that is a nice curated piece of content that I can put on my website. How often do you recommend people should you blog? 10 times a day, 1 time a month? What is the frequency that you recommend?
I think a good goal for anybody is 1 time a day. We've increased our publishing. I've been doing digital marketing for 10 years, and we've been consulting with people. I've yet to see anybody that hasn't increased publishing and hasn't increased their results. So if you can think of any site out there that maybe you've seen grown from maybe infancy to a big site, did they reduce their publishing or did they increase their publishing? I can almost guarantee 95% of the time they increase their publishing. So I often say that as much as you possibly can, because content today is the other reason why content's important is that it's not only the fuel of what drives traffic, conversations, and reach, but it's actually the only way that you're going to get people to what you should be getting them to is with your website, where you can convert them, where they can learn about you, where you can build authority. So much effort is put into social media, and it's great. So oftentimes, and the reason why I mentioned at the beginning, curation is talked around social media. That's great, but the challenge there is your ability to monetize an audience in social media is tougher than if they're on your website. It's much easier if someone comes over to your website. You could even do advanced strategies like retargeting. You get the data. Where if you spend all your time curating in social media, yes, you're building a platform, but the conversion opportunity for most small business entrepreneurs, I'm not saying you shouldn't do social media. It's drastically important, but most people don't focus on something they control, which is their website, their blog. That's where the conversions happen. That's where the opportunities happen. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. I love it. So what's the best way that someone, now that they understand why it's important and what your tool does, guide us to where they can learn more on the website, pick it up, and see how that can benefit their business?
So it's curationsuite.com. We have overview, demo videos. We have training there as well. We eat our own dog food, so to say. So we have tools that we use our tools today.
So we can go to blog and see, it in action. We can go to, whatever blog post and go, oh, hey, that's what a curated blog post would look like.
Yep. So we have case studies in addition to it's always funny to me whenever I see a tool maker and I ask them, do you use your tool? It's obvious they don't use their own tool. And so for us, you could go and see the direct result of us using the tool in addition to thousands of other people. So.
Awesome. Well, Scott, it was wonderful getting to know you today and this tool. I really love it, and thank you for your time coming on the show.
Absolutely. I enjoyed it. Thanks.
You've been listening to Influential Entrepreneurs with Mike Saunders. To learn more about the resources mentioned on today's show or listen to past episodes, visit www.influentialentrepreneurssradio.com.